in either case, Lincoln had far more to lose than gain. The starting point for this book was a pristinely stored transcript, which very few cases had at that time, of the trial unearthed in the late 20th century. While the discovery of this meaningful piece of Lincoln history was covered as a news story in 1989 by some of the usual media suspects, I was struck by how limited that coverage and analysis was and has been. After all, we're talking about the final murder trial Abraham Lincoln ever tried, and a truly compelling one at that. Having his exact words from a captivating trial should not be, for the most part, lost to history. Every quotation cited from the trial comes directly from the handwritten pages meticulously recorded by this book's protagonist, Robert Roberts Hitt. There are times when the reader may want to pause, the way the jury probably did, to try to envision and comprehend the precise location described by witnesses at the frantic scene of the incident. Ascertaining exactly who was where, when, must have been as challenging for jurors as it can be, at times, for the reader 150-plus years later. To truly understand the context of the trial itself, however, we had to conduct an enormous amount of legal and historical research beyond this courtroom. It included an exhaustive examination of how this case comports with others Lincoln argued through his career, and in so doing, presents a peek at the evolution of American law until 1859. In particular, the law of self-defense, which as it turns out was not significantly different from the standard that exists in most states today. Interspersed with the story of this trial, this book presents a snapshot of the state of the law in America in what I hope is an entertaining and edifying way. This is, in the end, a story about a great lawyer trying a difficult case, but not in Chicago, not in New York. From beginning to end, this is about a Springfield, Illinois attorney arguing, even performing, in his hometown. And in Springfield, Abe Lincoln was already the, well, Lincoln of his day. Every detail, down to the restaurants, streets, and hotels in Springfield, is accurate. Descriptions of what Lincoln did and even purchased on particular days during the trial was gathered from historical data. Newspaper reporting from the time assisted with detailed descriptions of the trial, beyond exactly what was said in court, which is in the transcript, on everything from the weather to the reactions from the gallery to the challenges Springfield was facing with telegraph technology that summer. And a host of Lincoln books, cited in the bibliography, provided additional information and perspective on Lincoln the lawyer. James M. Cornelius, the curator of the Lincoln collection at Springfield's Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, also reviewed the manuscript for accuracy. With that said, there were times we had to deduce what was said in meetings or private conversations, or suggest appropriate thoughts and/or mannerisms. We kept any recreated quotes from Lincoln himself to an absolute minimum, in part because there is so much information about him readily available. And even then, we've been careful to base those quotes on his previously stated beliefs, as well as known conversations. We also made certain minor assumptions on the timing of the trial, where the historical record was ambiguous. But every aspect of and detail in this story is rooted solidly in fact. The participants in the trial and dialogue from it are real. The information, history, and law entirely accurate. The trial and the spectacle it became is seen through the eyes of Hitt, the scribe, whose handwritten words take us into the courtroom and serve as the yoke of the story. Transcribing every word of an often fast-moving trial, with witnesses who did not always speak up, using just a steel-tipped pen and paper, was at times a Herculean task. Blanks and notations in the transcript reveal certain points when Hitt struggled, but on the whole, there's just no question that Hitt's work was exquisite. As we discuss in the final chapter, he and many of the other participants from this trial went on to an illustrious career in politics and public service. His work and contacts from this trial certainly helped pave the way. But it was his notes about the man who hired him for the job, regularly dispatched to newspapers around the country even during the trial, that helped launch a presidential candidate, Peachy Quinn.